is 5 Live Sport.
Tuffers and Vaughan's Cricket Show.
Yeah, first Tuffers and Vaughan of the summer. We'll look at England's decision to get rid of Ed Smith and the role of national selector. So basically, Phil, it's giving Chris Silverwood total authority, starting with the New Zealand series, which some will say is a bold move.
Yes, a bit of streamlining going on with England, isn't it? But it won't just be Chris Silverwood. He's got the backroom staff of the great and the good. But yeah, I suppose the buck stops with the coach now.
James Bracey will be hoping to make his Test debut at Lords, and we'll talk to him in just a while. He'll join us live a little later on. We'll talk about We'll talk about the return of Sandpaper Gate. It's back thanks to Cameron Bancroft, Michael.
Oh, God, that was 3 years ago. The three players, Smith, Warner and Bancroft, they served a year's penalty. Let's move on.
And we'll also talk to Luke Fletcher. Consecutive career best figures in the county championship for Nottinghamshire at the age of 32.
Tuffers and Vaughan's Cricket Show
on 5 Live.
I love these Zooms because James Bracey, I've never met him, but I've seen him on Zoom. Now he's coming on the show, and there he is.
Let's bring in Gloucestershire's James Bracey in the England squad for the Test series against New Zealand that starts a week on Wednesday. Thanks for talking to us. Appreciate it. Evening, how are you?
Yeah, very good. Thanks, Mark. How are you guys? You all right?
Yeah, we're good. Do you take it? Do you take the call up in your stride, as in it's something that you've been building towards, or is it a pinchy moment?
Yes, I think it's a pinch me moment purely because it's the first time. I think I've been in those reserve lists and followed sort of obviously the team around, but that first time that I'm there is really, really nice to have that sort of that recognition. But yeah, definitely take it in my stride, sort of just shaved it down from that 55-man group at the start of last summer and just slowly chipped away at the number of people who are in front of me, really. So that's sort of how I'm looking at it, and it's just the next step on the ladder, really. So one more step to go, which obviously I'm hoping for in the next few weeks.
James, you've been involved in these sort of controlled environments with all the boys. Has that been great fun? Mixing with all the likes of the Joe Roots and everything and picking their brains?
Yeah, been really good. I was obviously a bit nervous this time last year going in for the first time, but I found them all really, really good, really sort of welcoming, and got on well with them all off the field as well as on it. So yeah, obviously picked their brains a lot in the nets, watched them at work, and you can certainly take a lot from that. But yeah, I'm hoping now that I've taken that a little bit into county cricket, and hopefully that step up becomes a little bit easier from that experience that I've
had. James, pleasure to talk to you. I remember last summer in the bubble, we kept on seeing you flying around the outfield after every day's play. Yeah, and we weren't allowed to speak to you. We weren't allowed to get close just to say hello. It's nice to meet you. From being inside the bubble, it could end up being an advantage because you've been in and around the team. You've seen Test match cricket from pretty much not playing, but right in the dressing room. What have you picked up from being inside that dressing room throughout the Test?
Yeah, cricket-wise, I think you sort of talk about your game as sort of Test cricket, not as just sort of batting in general, but those little bits that you may not pick up from county cricket, you sort of find yourself working on them. I've talked to Graham Thorpe a lot about playing the short ball and the ways you can go about that, the way you can practice that as well. And I think just the experience of watching it firsthand, seeing how people deal with the extra demands and that sort of thing can come in handy as well. I sort of talked to Ollie Pope about it, and he talked about when he first played Test cricket and sort of just got thrown in the dressing room, not met half the guys, and it sort of happened thick and fast. And he said that was good from one aspect, from the other he sort of didn't have much time to take it in. So I've really enjoyed the sort of off the field and learnt a lot about sort of a Test match game as such. I'm looking forward to getting the chance, hopefully, to applying it.
You talked about working with Graham Thorpe on the short ball, for example, and presumably that's another benefit in all of this, is that the England coaches can look at you consistently in net sessions and in this controlled environment and work with you in the areas they think you need to work with, rather than, say, you being selected for 2 Test matches, having your technique in whatever area poured over by the media, the opposition, whatever it may be, and then being sent away back to your county to work on something. You're able to work on stuff without it necessarily being public attention.
Yeah, for sure. You're absolutely right. I think I had the first sort of taste of it when I played that intra-squad game. It was probably the first time Silverwood, Thorpe, Collingwood, people like these guys had seen me bat properly, to be honest. So it was a great sort of exercise in terms of them learning a bit about me and me learning a bit about that next step up. It came in really handy, and I had some good conversations after that sort of led into how I practiced for the next 8 months, and it's certainly developed my game. Obviously, I had the great exposure of going away this winter as well, which not a lot of guys get that chance to spend that much time in Asia and learn that sort of craft as well. So, no, I've really benefited from the experiences I've been given.
And James, when you meet up with the squad, I mean, I'm looking at the full squad and thinking, right, how do you get in the side? Dom Sibley's had a dodgy finger. Now, in our time, Phil, what you do with someone that's had a dodgy finger, you go up to him and meet him and give him the most almighty handshake.
Yes.
And just wiggle it around a bit more to make sure that finger just gets displaced a little bit. So you're in the side. So it's perfect, isn't it?
Yeah, either that or ask them to play the piano in the bar and slam the lid down.
We're trying to get him a game here, chappers.
Yeah, I talked to my club cricket mates. They talk a few more sort of cricket-based ways, try and get hold of a slinger in the nets, or give them a little nudge in when you're playing football. I mean, I'm not sure how many pianos there are left in bars in our hotels at the moment, but I'll keep that one in mind for you, Tuffers.
Going back to technique and what you learn and what you've picked up and stuff, you've kept in the nets in training, haven't you, as well?
Yeah.
So does that give you quite a good perspective on other batsmen, other techniques, little tips you can pick up?
Yeah, definitely this winter. I think Bruce French and Ben Folkes in particular are really big on keepers getting into the nets and just sort of having that almost mental practice when they're, rather than just obviously doing all the drills you do, but almost that activity of waiting for a ball to come to you is almost as tough as the actual skill itself. So they're big on that. And I think watching particularly Ben Stokes, Joe Root this winter, you sort of look at the little things they do, little, I don't know, foot movements and ways they play spinners. And it's almost a case of just taking that, trying it for yourself and seeing if it fits your game. That's what I found was really beneficial for sure.
James, who would you say was your sort of hero growing up? Who would you have modelled your game on?
I can't say I watched a lot of cricket until I was about 12, to be honest, Tuffers. I wasn't a big watcher. I liked playing. No? So I got to that age, and at that time started wicket-keeping, batting. I liked watching Cook and Strauss, left-handed opening batters. Sangakkara was another one because he did both. My brother was a keeper as well. He liked the look of Adam Gilchrist, but he was certainly more flamboyant than I was. So Sangakkara, that sort of classy left-hander, definitely was the big one.
And James, where would you? I know it's difficult to play in any position, but if I could say now to you, come on, what number would you like to bat on your debut for England? What number would it be?
I'd probably say opening. That's what I did growing up, and I think whenever I've had the opportunity to do so for Gloucestershire, I've wanted to. So I think I've batted 3 because at the time when I came into the side, that was where there was a spot for me, and since then, we've had quite a bit of sort of solidity at the top of the order. Chris Dent's obviously always been there. We've always had batters who have also done that, and I've obviously had wicket keeping this season as well. So batting 3 has suited me, but I like to think that the skill set's very similar, and I'd like to think, if I could have the opportunity to open the batting, that'd be my first choice.
Just talk us about Gloucester. This county that goes under the radar. Let's be honest, toughest chat. We haven't mentioned Gloucester a lot on this show over the years, but there's things happening there. Is it Richard Dawson, what he did over the years there as a coach? Obviously, he's moved on to the pathway programme with England, but you seem to be getting it right at Gloucester. You're at the top of the tree. You're playing great in 4-day cricket. Always been good in 1-day cricket, particularly in my time. You used to batter everyone in the 90s, but there's some good things happening at Gloucester. It's great to see.
Yeah, I think what Dawson's done since he came in 2015, obviously started really well, winning the 50 over that year. And since we've been really consistent in T20 cricket, I think with 4-day cricket, he's made it, first up, he made it a real big point that we were difficult to beat. And I think that was the first turning point. And then since then, obviously 2019, some success, got promoted. Chris Dent's been massive for that as captain and trying to push a really positive culture around the place, trying to make it from top to bottom really consistent. And I think it's, work of our academy as well. We've got a lot of homegrown players who I think now are sort of coming into their own. We've got guys in their prime like Dent, like Payne, couple of good signings here and there, Ryan Higgins, and people are all starting to become sort of clear with their roles and putting in performances. And I think now we've sort of started to believe that we can beat good sides as well as be tough to beat. And I think that transition over the last couple of years, obviously started by Dulce, was the key.
Do you still, you've not had crowds obviously over the last year or so. Is there still that fella in the corner with the chicken?
You what?
Remember, he used to sing about the whole chicken. Do you remember him, Phil? In the 90s, you used to. I think
I've heard Mark Elaine talk about this at some point, but I wouldn't have a clue.
He's got the whole chicken. He's got the whole chicken in his hands. He used to sing in the far corner. You must have played there, Phil, with that guy with the chicken.
I remember the chicken. I don't remember him so well.
Have you gone through then, James? Have you gone through all the Gloucestershire age groups in your career on the way to the first team? And then does that make it a bit like what we were talking about with England? Does that then make it easier when you do get to the first team?
Yeah, I started at 11, and I think I sort of had that journey, and it sort of stuttered a little bit at 16, 17, and then I picked up, luckily, a little bit later on as well. But it's nice that I've been able to go all the way through, and I think seeing other people do it as well allows you to sort of keep that belief. The likes, as I've mentioned, guys have gone through, so knowing that it does happen if you keep putting in the hard work. And yeah, obviously I was lucky to go all the way.
And James, just on your game, what's the key to you being successful? What do you have to be doing to get the runs, to get the big scores?
Yeah, I think I have to be, leaving the ball well is key. I like to score through the offside. Like most left-handers, you want to hit the ball through the covers and capitalise on anything width-wise. But I think it's knowing when to go. Leaving the ball well is key, and then being clinical off your pads, I think is crucial. I think I'm going to find that at test level, the opportunities to score become less and less. And being really, clinical when you do get opportunities is really key. And I think I've learned that, in every form of cricket from 2020 to what I've played 4-day cricket, there's always more time than you think.
Can I give you some advice, James?
Please.
I honestly think that's a big myth about Test cricket.
Really?
And I think it gets embedded into players. It got embedded to me when I first started to play Test cricket.
Yeah.
You don't get many scoring opportunities. I honestly think it's a myth. It's all a mindset. And the reason I say that is that in county cricket, I honestly think county batting is harder than Test batting if you've got the right mindset. The reason I say that is, I know Phil, you found
McGrath, Vaughan, and
I'm just saying,
Rosenthal.
look, McGrath and Gillespie and Connor county pitch with a Duke ball, nightmare. In Test cricket, 85% of the time you will be playing on pure wickets. There'll be great surface and it's purely about what you think. And I'm telling you, when you go out to bat, you'll have 4 slips in the gully, so there's massive opportunities to score because the gaps will be there. In county cricket, you go out to bat, there'll be 2 slips of gully, extra cover in place, mid-wicket in place, someone will be wobbling at 80 miles an hour, it'll be zipping all over the place. I honestly think it's harder playing county cricket at times, and it's purely the mental side, and you will get as many opportunities to score in Test cricket as you will in county cricket, if not more.
Wow.
Well,
Perfect.
great advice there by Mike. The only other bit of advice, which all you boys used to say to me when I was batting, come and help me out, it was really quite simple, which obviously I wasn't doing, was to watch the ball. All of them always used to say that, come on, get it in a nutshell, what are you going to do? Just watch the ball.
You kind of got advice at either end of the scale there, James, haven't you? Really?
Yeah, I'll take a pinch of salt of both.
Very good, love that.
Very grateful, very grateful.
We often talk about, actually, the luck of the draw about, and in fact, Ed Smith, who we're going to talk about later, actually wrote a book on luck, didn't he? But the luck of the draw in who you might make your debut against, in conditions that you might make your debut against, and how that could affect your career going forward. I'm guessing you can't really think about that at this stage of your career when you're just trying to start out and cement a place?
Yeah, I think the first thought for me is I want to play a test match. I don't mind who that's against, where it is, and what happens. I think that first barrier is getting obviously in the team. But I think looking at the schedule over the next 8-9 months, it's a pretty exciting time to be on the fringes. It only takes one opportunity, have a really good sort of run of a couple of games, and you could find yourself on an Ashes tour, playing against India, playing against whoever else, and which is really exciting because you want to challenge yourself against the world's best, and playing the 3 top teams in the world in the next 6 months is really exciting. And
this is a collective, isn't it? Going back to where we first started here, I'm not sure there's such a thing as a first choice 11 anymore because of controlled environments, bubbles, tours, injuries, demands of IPL, whatever else may be going on over the course of a season. I'm not sure you have a first choice 11, do you, anymore?
I think you always obviously want to play your best side, but there's so many factors, as you said, that are impacting it. And there's so many people performing, especially obviously in the bowling departments at the moment with the physical aspect of it. And you've got so many guys performing. To think that Ollie Robinson and Craig Overton are only now just getting into their first test squad, having averaged 13 with the ball, shows how high the standard is. And obviously as batters, with people missing out, like Butler, like Bairstow, people not available, it gives opportunities to the likes of myself. If those opportunities do come, we've got to take them and put our names in the hat for when everyone is available.
And presumably, I haven't actually looked at guidelines here. Will family and friends be able to watch you if you make your debut?
Yeah, they'll be able to watch. So we get a limit on tickets. So I've made it explicitly clear that if there's any going spare, I want them, because I've got parents, grandparents, my girlfriend, my brother. They're all wanting to come. So we get a few tickets each, and they're able to come watch, which obviously makes it a lot easier. The last couple of times has been real tough not having anyone in the crowd in general, but I'm sure having your family there makes it a lot more satisfying.
Yeah, have the players really missed the crowds as well?
I think they have. Obviously, I've not been involved in Test cricket where there has been crowds until those couple of tests in India. But the guys just go on about how different it is. Obviously, the Barmy Army in particular, I can imagine, make a huge impact, which I'm looking forward to seeing. But yeah, they've certainly said that it's been slightly different.
It's so exciting for you. Thank you so much for coming on the show and talking to us. We obviously wish you the very, very best and appreciate you giving us your time this evening as well. Thank you.
No problem at all, guys. Thank you very much for having me.
Cheers, James.
Thank
you.
James.
Gloucestershire's James Bracey. Like so many, Michael, Phil, when we get to talk to them, they are impressive, aren't they?
Oh, they're
nice
slightly different. Yeah, exactly. Slightly different from us Herberts when we were. But then again, that's the whole thing about, he's been in that bubble, the preparation now. You were saying that, you're going to walk into that changing room. You know the guys. You've been involved with them for the last 12, 18 months, so to speak. And that sort of transition of actually then just putting your pads on and walking out and playing with them, it's not that sort of huge step. Not only, I can remember when I sort of first walked into an England dressing room and a home dressing room, I was nervous about the side I was playing, but I was actually nervous almost then about meeting my own teammates as well, and trying to, get a rapport and sort of come together. So,
let's not forget, Phil, the story that always sticks in my mind that you tell is when you were about to go on your first tour and you walked into the bar at Heathrow Airport and Gower and both of them thought you were an autograph hunter, didn't they? Exactly,
that's right. Yes,
you had to go, no, I'm actually on the tour.
Yes, that's right. They were all sitting at the bar, and I've come down in my jeans and t-shirt in the evening like that, and I've stood behind them for about what felt like about 5 minutes, and then eventually, I think it was Lammy or Gower or someone turned around and I said, "All right, son, would you like an autograph?" I said no. I said no. I'm coming with you.
But chappers, I'm sure we're going to mention Ed Smith, but Ed Smith has mentioned James Bracey to me probably 2 or 3 years. He's always spoken about James Bracey being...
Looks a good lad, you're right.
Good player,
good.
but a very mature kid. And you want that kind of... You just heard the way that he speaks. He's very level-headed, but very thorough. Clearly he knows himself. He's only 24, but he looks to me like he already knows what he's about. I always go back to when Andrew Strauss got in for his test debut against New Zealand at Lords. I got injured that week. My knee went 2 days before. He got thrown in. The rest is history. He got 100, should have got a second. He got run out in the second innings. And he's only one blip away from playing next week. At this stage, with everyone fit, and if Sibley passes his test, I think James may miss out, but you're only one blip away, and then it's up to you to try and take your chance. And he just looks to me like he's got the right style of temperament that could be very successful.
Yeah, I was listening on the radio or on the telly the other day, actually, and they were talking about people making debuts and how difficult it could be and everything. And they were saying, well, surely, no one would be thrown in at the MCG or Brisbane to make their Ashes debut. Yeah, my debut was at the MCG. Do you know what I mean? And so, they were going, no, you'd surely not do that to someone. It'd be too much for them to handle. But nowadays, as you say, with the preparation, with the whole Team England sort of ethos and, people knowing their roles and what they're doing and talking to the coaches and what have you, debut at Lords against New Zealand, what an opportunity, crikey. That's what dreams are made of.
But June against this New Zealand at Lords, given the weather that we've had, I mean...
might nip about a bit.
That's not the easiest of debuts, is it, Mike?
No. New Zealand are a
Well,
class
apparently,
team.
apparently it's easier facing Glamorgan than Australia, according to Mike.
So you weren't quite getting my drift. So when James Bracey makes his debut, what are the opposition going to do? Attack him? Yeah. They're not going to just bowl outside into the channel and let him leave the ball. They're going to attack him, so he will get more opportunities to score if his mind's strong and his technique's good. Of course, there's now and again, Test cricket is ridiculously tough, but I honestly think it gets over-egged. I remember going into the England side in '99, everything was negative about, it's so tough playing Test cricket, it's 5 or 10 miles an hour quicker. Once you've been out there, you go, in actual fact, it's a bit quicker, but the pitches are better.
Yeah.
The visual behind the side screens are massive. Yeah. You can see everything. You get the best practice 2 or 3 days leading in with the best net facility. You've got millions of coaches that can throw balls to you all the time.
Better stewarding you would expect, so that Bob having his packed lunch doesn't walk across as the ball's being delivered, for example.
Honestly, it is tough. I'm not saying Test cricket is easy at all, but I do think when you're going into the side, I guess coaches and senior players want to kind of put a little bit of the realism that it is quite tough, but there is plenty of times in Test cricket where it seems a bit easier than some of the county pitches that I've seen over the last few years.
And I know what you mean, actually, Mike, because sometimes you're playing sort of like in a county game and there's not much on it, and the guys sort of like are giving it a whack and they get lucky and they keep going and score a score. Sometimes the pressure, sometimes I've run up and almost bowled, 6 half volleys outside off stump, and because the pressure's on the batsman and it's perhaps at Lords, and they've just sort of patted them back sometimes. So it's about getting your nut round the sort of overall pressure of it all, and I think James Bracey's got a great chance.
I love that, getting your nut ready.
Yeah,
you've got to get your nut round it, haven't you?
You could be a sports psychologist, Phil. There you go. And the final one on that, talking about knowing what he wants and how impressive it was. He didn't. When you said, where do you want to bat? He didn't go, I'd just be happy to be in the team. He said exactly what he wanted to do. I know earlier on in his career, he didn't make the Gloucestershire first team, so he went to university in Loughborough, got on with it there, and then came back into the Gloucestershire first team. So he's not afraid to say what he wants to do.
Yeah, and I think, chappers, there's more goes into developing cricketers now than ever before. And I think a lot of it is, obviously, the game you've got to be able to play, but, I think they get taught, for one, how to talk to us. In the media, I think they get trained how to be, very good with the media. I mean, there's obviously some that are better than others, but, I'm sure James would have had plenty of media training over the last few years. He'll have also had plenty of training with, psychologists and lots of kind of, particularly in the last year, he's been around senior players who are playing Test cricket day in, day out, and he's probably picked their brains. So he does seem to be the kind of personality already, without even playing a Test, that, he spoke like you would expect someone to have, probably played 20, 30 test matches.
Yeah.
He spoke with great maturity and clarity. Going back 10 or 15 years ago, I'm not too sure we got that. And because of the Lions programme, everything that England do in the pathway system now, right down to really young players like 12, 13, 14, 15 coming through, I think they're getting taught a little bit differently these days.
Let's talk Ed Smith then. So all the decision making now comes under Chris Silverwood. He has total authority over the squad, just like Gareth Southgate would have, or Eddie Jones would have. Ashley Giles has said this makes the lines of accountability much clearer. Phil?
Well, yeah. I mean, as I said earlier, the buck stops with him now. There is so much information available to, the coaches, the backroom staff, the scouts. We've touched on it earlier, streams from counties. If you want to actually then have a look at a player, you don't have to get in your car and drive up to Lancashire and then drive down to Sussex and things like that. There is so much at their fingertips now that I think that they've just thought, well, hold on a minute, let's just see where it goes, because there was some confusion, wasn't there, in the winter? I can remember me and Mike doing the India series there and sort of going, hold on a minute, what's going on? So I think that must have been a factor just for them to try and find another way of going about it. But I don't think it's going to be the end of the world. It just frees up a car parking space.
I think it's the right decision. I think it is the right way for English cricket to go. I guess in our time, Phil, the coach, the captain, you could always fall back on the selectors if things didn't go quite as well as you would have hoped for. Now Chris Silverwood hasn't got that crutch. He hasn't got that to be able to fall back on.
Ray Illingworth had overall power, didn't he?
Yeah, he
that
had
didn't work out
power.
well, Mike.
No,
that didn't work out well, really, with Ray, did it?
No, but I don't think Ray had the network around him that Chris Silverwood would have now. Let's see. I think it's the right decision. I think it's the right way to go. But this summer, if it doesn't go so well against New Zealand and they struggle against India, and we're asking Chris Silverwood questions, why did you pick him and why did you go with him? The pressure would build. But as I said, I would want that authority. If I was the head coach of English cricket, you'd want to have the final say on selection.
There's just a bit more on it, though, isn't there, for Silverwood than there is for... Yeah. I mean, I know the England football manager's job is meant to be the hardest in the country, but there is more on it for Silverwood than a Southgate or an Eddie Jones, who basically have one squad in one format for whatever tournament it may be. Silverwood has got quite a lot of balancing to do here across well, as we talked to James as well, across three formats in these times. When you're looking at 50 to 60 cricketers in these controlled environments, there's quite a lot of balancing going on there, more so than there is for a football or the rugby union manager.
He's got a lot of work to do. He's got more work to do, that's for sure. And he'll be sitting down. I don't know whether. Oh, you reckon that the coach would appreciate that, Mike? I mean, a lot of kind of like these structures are put in place in all sports to sort of relieve the pressure, isn't it? And to take that sort of like a burden off of the coaches or the managers and what have you. But if anything, now England have put a little bit more of a workload onto Chris. Yeah,
I would say Chris's main priority, Chappers, would be the test team.
Yeah,
I think the white ball team, Owen Morgan, Paul Collingwood, I think that will be their kind of bag, and I'm sure Chris will have a big say. But I think his focus, particularly over the next year, is certainly 2 tests against New Zealand, the 5 against India, and the Ashes. That's what he has to deliver. The T20 World Cup, obviously, that's very, very important. But the white ball team, since around 2017, you've always felt, even when Trevor Bayliss was there, you always felt that Owen Morgan was in charge. While he's the captain, you just feel that he's got that white ball team playing, and the mentality side of it, he knows exactly who he wants in his 11. He knows exactly who he wants in his squad. You almost feel now he knows his T20 World Cup side already, and I don't think he'll be budging from that.
No, I do quite like the idea of, though, as Ashley Giles said there, accountability. There is nowhere to go now, is there? You pick up the phone to Chris and say, listen, congratulations. You take the plaudits when everything goes great, but then you're going to have to dodge a few bullets.
I will say, I mean, you know, as I keep saying, I do think it's the right thing, but I look at what Ed Smith has delivered, and there'll be some that say, you know, he hasn't done a great deal. I think he has brought quite a lot to the Test team.
I do.
You know, under his watch, I felt before, you know, Ed, and just when he started, I thought the Test team were going down but it wasn't a great direction, playing a lot of one-day cricketers, playing this real expansive game. It was risky. They were getting bowled out cheaply on a regular occurrence. They were winning the odd game. Great. It was great spectacle. But, you know, I think by picking, you know, proper batters, you know, at the top of the order, 3. Butler came back from the IPL specifically to play for the Test team. So I think the mechanism and the formation side of the way the Test team has been picked and has been playing over the course of Ed's reign, I think it's been a success. And I think bringing Butler back from the IPL will be his big tick. So I don't think it's fair to say he's not had an impact. I think he's had a really big impact on the Test team.
He's had impact in quite a few areas, hasn't he? I mean, look, you know, we know Ed and we've worked with Ed, but you've got to be fair and say, you know, Jofra Archer in the 2019 World Cup and bringing him in and how they did that. You talk about Jos Buttler, Michael, you know, that first squad in May 2018, Butler hadn't played a Test in 18 months when he was brought back in. Don Best was also in that squad, who'd only played 16 first-class games at that time. And when you look at somebody playing the drums, what was that? Is that your dishwasher, Phil?
That's Phil's chair.
No,
Chair's a bit squeaky.
Oh, it's Phil's chair, is it? Right.
Can you do that again?
Chair. I'm sorry, I've got
Phil.
squeaky.
Go on.
Oh, it is.
Sorry, I've got an old bar stool I'm sitting on. It's a bit squeaky.
Old habits die hard, don't they, Phil?
I'll get off it. Sorry about that.
No. And then actually, the 12 Test debuts he's given, including, you know, Sam Curran, Ollie Pope, Don Sibley, Zach Crawley, Dan Lawrence. I mean, his body of work is surely more on the positive side than the negative side. Phil, sit back on your bar stool because you look really uncomfortable. Seriously, it's fine. Right, there you go.
Okay. No, I make it right. I mean, he's an analyst as well, isn't he, Ed? He loves the stats. He goes back, sees what everyone's done, and I think that's what he's also brought to his, as you say, his time in charge, is that it was a little bit more clinical. You know, there were sort of reasons for, you know, the odd hunch, but then backed up by, listen, this guy is the guy for us, so to speak, and also, you know, was pretty lucky. You've just reeled off some Test debuts there. You know, so some very fine young cricketers have come through on his watch.
Yeah, I mean, Sam Curran, you know, I forgot to mention him. He's been a great find across all the formats for England. Yeah. You know, you only have to see, you know, whichever team Sam Curran plays for, he seems to have impact. It's either with the bat, the ball, or in the field. You saw it in the IPL for the Chennai Super Kings. He was having a great time of it. So yeah, Ed deserves a lot of credit for what he's delivered. But England have moved on. And as I said, I think it's the right formation they've gone with. I like the fact that the head coach is ultimately in charge.
Can they sort of like reverse that? Can they sort of like, if it doesn't work so well, then go for a head sort of chairman and selectors, or is it
ring Ed back up?
Well, not necessarily Ed.
Recreate the role.
The role.
Well, I'm sure they can. I mean, you know, I'm sure Ashley Giles would have thought long and hard about the structure and how it works. You know, James Taylor's still in the system. He worked with Ed. Boba in charge of the pathway and kind of talent ID. You know, where probably Chris Silver will need a lot of help, not necessarily the first team, it'll be picking the Lions team and picking, you know, pathway players coming through the system to make sure they've got the right players in the programme. I think Chris Silver, he will know now, you know, pretty much his group of players that he's picking his squads from over the next year or two. It's just how they winkle it down to the 11 and to rotate and to make sure that they're keeping all the fast bowlers fresh and fit. You go to this first Test match against New Zealand, what will be England's formation? It probably looks like it's going to be Overton or Robinson at number 8, because they need someone at 8 who can bat a bit. And then will they go without a spinner? Now, they're going to have to play one fast bowler, so Mark Wood or Ollie Stone will play. I'm pretty sure England have always liked to go with one quick. If they play one quick and Ollie Robinson and Overton at number 8, Jimmy Anderson and Stuart Broad play, there's no Jack Leach.
No.
So it's getting the formation right for that first Test match at Lords, and I'm sure the forecast will play a big part of it. If it's a cloudy week, they may not go with the spinner, which I wouldn't like to see, Phil. With what Jack Leach did in the winter, I really want to see Jack Leach continue to develop as a Test match bowler. I thought he was one of the real the real positives from the winter. I thought he handled playing in India, playing in Sri Lanka, got better and better. I'd like to see him playing all summer in English conditions.
We're going to talk to Luke Fletcher shortly, who's taken 2 7-fers in a couple of weeks, which is.
Are you getting him in, chappers? Get him in. Let's have him in as well.
No. We're getting him on in a second. Just before we do, let's just do Sandpaper Gate. Less so going over the whole thing again, but more that after Cameron Bancroft did an interview when he said it was probably self-explanatory when asked how much the bowlers on the day knew about it. Cricket Australia have asked him if he has any more information about what happened in 2018. Kind of feels like we've been there and done that, but just by that one interview, if Cricket Australia are going to take it any further, how that could affect the next 6-9 months for Cricket Australia, Michael, with an Ashes on the horizon.
I think Cricket Australia have really dealt with this last week badly. Why didn't they just release a statement saying it was dealt with in 2018? Their
investigation cleared all of the players and staff.
End of. Why have they put any fuel onto the fire, saying they want every bit of information? And then the 4 bowlers, Lyne, Stark, Hazelwood and Cummins, released a statement the day after, completely denying that they knew anything about the sandpaper. It's just added more fuel to the fire. For me, it was dealt with. We move on. I personally can't believe that the team didn't know. I cannot believe that players in that team didn't know what was going on. Phil, we've been involved in many, many teams. We've all tried, whether it's right or wrong, we've all tried to get the ball swinging somehow. Not with sandpaper, we're not quite that stupid, but we've all put a sweet on or something, a little bit of sun cream, and all the team know. So I can't believe that the team didn't know in Cape Town. But for me, it was dealt with in 2018. I thought the year bans was too long. I thought it was far too severe. And we've got to move on. But, I guess the way that Cricket Australia have dealt with it has added a bit more fuel to the fire.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they really have just, why open the hornet's nest again? I mean, that was a really a shocking time in cricket, it wasn't it? I mean, seeing Steve Smith getting escorted out of South Africa and tears and all of this and mums and dads alongside their boys and what have you. It was a very painful time for cricket and for Australian cricket as well. They dealt with it. Let's not drag all up again.
Well, I'm sure from, we're speaking it from outside of the team, if you like, but I'm sure...
Well, we're also speaking from a benefit as 3 Englishmen who as an England team that might benefit from
correct.
it.
And that's what I'm
still
saying,
it feels like water under the bridge.
I just can't understand why they'd want it to drag out. I don't understand why they just didn't put it to bed. It was very easy last week. You just release a statement. I'm sorry, this was dealt with in 2018. Can we move on?
Yeah, I bet all the players have now just gone, oh, no. Yeah, I bet that will have an effect on the players, because these things, you do take a bit of time to sort of like brush them off, and you do feel a little bit sort of like picked upon or paranoid about all these kind of things, and you want to then put them to bed and start again and what have you. So, yeah, a very, very strange decision.
Let's talk to Luke Fletcher then, Nottinghamshire bowler. Evening, Luke.
Good evening.
So 2 7-fers in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Nah, 6 for against Essex. 7
was it?
Still pretty good, Luke. Come on.
Oh, sorry. I've had an extra wicket on. Sorry.
Yeah, I reckon you got an LBW that wasn't given, Luke.
I should have got 8 for as well because Clarkey dropped Joe Leach. I should have had 8 for. And then because Broady was like, "Do you want to join the 8 for club at Trent Bridge?" Like 2 balls before, and I said, "Yeah, I'm coming with you, mate. I'm coming." Dropped it first slip. Oh.
Luke, is still playing county cricket the best job in the world?
Well, I mean, for me, yeah, it is, yeah, definitely. I love it, and don't get me wrong, it's better. It's much better when you're winning back-to-back games and you're on a roll. But yeah, of course it is. Yeah, I mean, my last job I was a chef at Hooters, so that wasn't too bad either. But this is definitely.
What has changed within you as a squad? I mean, I think the majority of people listening to us will know how tough it's been for Nottinghamshire in the Championship.
Yeah.
Not obviously in white ball cricket, but the run was barren in Championship cricket.
Yeah.
So, what kept you all going? What changed?
Well, it was tough. It was really, really tough. Yeah, I mean, we had to dig deep. We had to work really hard this winter and change really. And people have done that. I mean, we've not had a settled batting lineup like we've got now. I mean, Hamid and Slater at the top have been top draw on some tricky surfaces as well. So they've set the platform with that. And then you've got Duckett, Clark, Mulaney, and a young lad called Lyndon James coming in. And they've the top six have been brilliant, and they've set the games up for us. And also with the bowling attack, I mean, it's been nice to have Broady backing around, and Broady's loving playing cricket more than I've ever seen, really. And I've known him a while now, but he's absolutely buzzing about it at the minute. So to have him in an attack and enjoying his cricket certainly helps. But Dane Patterson from South Africa as well, our overseas bowler, he's finding some nice form, and I think we're just getting it right with both bat and ball, which has been a while really. We haven't really had a strong squad in the last few years, but we seem to be stringing it together now.
Luke, what do you all make of the conference system? It's new because of what happened last year, but it's been stuck with for this year. Are you all happy with it? Would you like to go back to the two divisions? I know Alex Stewart would prefer two divisions, but how do you, from a Notts perspective, like the conferences?
I don't mind it, to be honest. You come up against some teams you don't play a lot. You end up playing at different grounds you haven't played at, and I think it gives everyone an opportunity to win the county championship. I get why people want the two divisions. I enjoyed that as well, but it's an exciting. I find it a lot more exciting that we win the top of our group. We're going to another division, then we go. We've got a chance to play a 5-day Lord's final in the end of September, which would be that'd be unreal, wouldn't it?
Do you think it's kind of work, Michael? And
yeah, I like
and
it.
Also, if you can sort of, as they will, if the plan was to change the three groups of 6 each year to make sure you play different people, but maybe keep your biggest rival within your same group, or keep that the Roses game, or Surrey Middlesex, whatever it is. You actually get the best of both worlds, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Luke's just mentioned something that's just made a little bit of the hair on the back of the neck just stand. A 5-day final at Lords.
Yeah.
In our time, it was all about a final at Lords, was the NatWest Trophy, the Benson Hedges Cup. There wasn't a 4-day final. We always have looked at Australia, and that Shield final is a big event. It's a huge event. It's on TV. All the players want to play in it. I got a feel from last year's final that two good teams that were desperate to get there and put on a great show. It really was a great spectacle. Cookie getting a tremendous 100. And I can imagine, Luke, in the dressing room, you talk a lot about the T20 finals day. That's a great day out. But I bet there's as much excitement as potentially getting to a 5-day final at Lords, isn't there?
100%, yeah. I mean, I think the county championship, that's the best trophy to win because it's the hardest trophy to win. And I think a lot of county cricketers will say the same. Don't get me wrong, Edgbaston rocking with 30,000 at T20 day out is amazing, but I think, the hard work and toil you put into all the 4-day cricket and the training days before that, to get to Lords, that would just top off a great year, wouldn't it? And to play 5 days there would be amazing.
Tuffers?
Yeah, great lunches as well, of course.
I wasn't going to say that.
Unbelievable. Kevin Shine, Luke, says you're getting better and better as you get older.
Like a fine wine.
Like a fine wine. How do you think you are improving year on year?
I think I've just changed. I've got 2 kids now, so my lifestyle would be different. Don't get me wrong, I still like a window of opportunity. I'll jump straight through it, but I think things have changed for me now, and I'm a lot more, I would say, calmer off the field. I used to have a fear of missing out, so I'd be out all over the place, and I probably didn't live the lifestyle that a professional cricketer or sportsman should have lived. But I had some great fun. But I think now I've got the balance probably right, and I'm probably seeing the rewards on the field, which is it's nice, really.
And also county cricket as well. It's experience, mate, isn't it? You know, you know
Well,
how to go about your business.
You know what? Bowling takes a long time to. Well, I don't think you ever do. You don't think you ever do master bowling because I'm watching Brody now and he's still figuring stuff out.
Yeah.
But it takes time to learn. It's you can't just get it overnight. It takes a long time, and I think you always got to be developing your game. And I've worked with Shiny this winter on a few technical things that have seemed to make a difference. So I think I'm always trying to develop your game, and obviously that experience definitely does help.
Luke, just the England selectors have changed. Chris Hill is now in charge. You as a county bowler, we've had James Bracey on the show tonight. He was very impressive. Are there any other players out there that necessarily are not getting talked about that you think could go on and play Test match cricket?
Well, Darren Stevens will be one.
Got 190. Got 190, did he?
He's unreal, isn't he? How good is he? He's quality, isn't he? Yeah, I mean, you rush with some people like that, but I completely get it. I know, we're having Brody around. I keep banging on about him, but I speak to him a lot about it. And Test pitches, it's a completely different ball game. So, horses for courses sort of thing. You look at people like your Ollie Robinsons and Craig Overton that have dominated as bowlers over the past 2 or 3 years. Them lads. But yeah, I mean.
You mentioned him earlier on in this interview, and this has got nothing to do with the England opportunities, but it's just really nice for as a cricket fan to see the fresh start that Hasib has had with Notts, and that he's able to take advantage of it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm actually one of them people that I seem to get put up against in the nets all the time. And he's going well. He's going really well at the minute. He's got, his defence is looking strong, and his intent to score the runs as well. Is if he's going for a cover drive, he's going to smash it. He's got intent to score runs, so he's in a good place at the minute. And long may it continue. I think he doesn't openly say he's got England in his mind, but I reckon deep there somewhere he's got a point to prove. That is for sure.
Tuffers and Vaughan's Cricket Show
on 5 Live.